If you've been following the Karen Reed case as closely as we have here on Alexasrewm, you probably already heard about the epically failed attempt to indict Karen Reed and Turtleboy on additional criminal charges.
An attorney for Aiden Carney, aka Turtleboy, was the first to reveal this in court documents. A law enforcement source confirmed it for me Wednesday.
And we have a copy of a search warrant that state police used to seize 2 phones from Karen Reed.
25 Investigates was the first to report on that search warrant in January.
I'm a blogger I'm an award-winning journalist.
It accused Karen Reed of secretly working with Aiden Carney to harass people slated as witnesses in Reed's murder trial. The warrant alleged Reed took steps to provide Carney non-public information while appearing to be distant, and text exchanges suggest Carney and Karen communicated directly. A special prosecutor working for the Norfolk District Attorney's Office attempted to indict Reed in late March for conspiring with Carney. The case was presented to a grand jury weeks before Reed went on trial for the death of John O'Keefe. New charges were also sought against Carney, but the indictments failed. A filing from Carney's attorney, Mark Betterow, says a grand jury returned a no-true bill, which means the secret panel dismissed the accusations against Reed and Carney based on a lack of evidence. According to documents from Carney's case, the transcripts of the grand jury proceedings he and Reed were the focus of have been turned over to his defense team. Neither Special Prosecutor Ken Mello nor Carney's attorney Mark Betterow were immediately available to speak on camera. I'm Ted Daniel for your local station, Boston 25 News.
Ah, Law Daddy, serving us proud and well once again. Hello, and welcome to Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, we are not law enforcement, we are just people. People who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including this bombshell by Law Daddy himself, Mr. Mark Betterow. Now, I figured the best way to present this second Betterow bombshell, if you will, was to actually hear from the man himself. No, I have not secured Aiden Carney onto this podcast, but I figured the best way to do this was to go through his article that he wrote and published the other day. That includes a lot of the audio clips that he typically plays on his shows, just so you can get a better feel of some of the new cast of characters that have now entered the arena, while we're also going through the court document, or the Betterow letter. I know a lot of people have already done a readout of those, so I figured this would be a better way for me to present this information if you've already heard it already. So let's dive in. So this is Kate Peter, if you are unfamiliar. She is, again, and I'll let Aiden tell you in his own words, is a former employee of Aiden Carney's. She used to work for him several years back, writing articles, wanted to essentially kickstart her own career as, I guess, a YouTuber like Turtleboy, which I'm sure he would have supported and that would have been fine and fair, but she ended up getting canned because she was stealing money, allegedly, from Turtleboy. So she gets fired. She's been holding a grudge ever since, and that seems to be where all this vitriol seems to come from. You may also know her on Twitter as Masshole Mafia. So yesterday, my attorney, Mark Betterow, sent a letter to special prosecutors Ken Mello and Robert Cosgrove. Now, Ken Mello, as you remember, Ken Marshmallow, as some people like to call him, has taken the bench, a back seat to trying this case now, because he has fallen ill. Fallen ill with what? For however long, how serious it is, we don't know. But now Robert Cosgrove is the guy who is going to be taking the lead on prosecuting Aiden. Let me just X out of this. Informing them that my defense team would be requesting communications from Kate Peters' cell phone, as we have discovered that she appears to be an informant, his words not mine, for the Norfolk County DA's office. Very interesting. and the driving force behind all of my criminal charges. And if you thought this was just a one big fat conspiracy theory, wait until you get into this Betterow letter. So this is the first page. Again, this was on October 8th via email. Dear Messrs. Cosgrove and Marshmallow. On October 1st, 2024, Mr. Cosgrove provided the defense with a recording of Catherine Peters' February 26th, 2024 call to the Dedham police about an alleged incident that occurred outside the Norfolk County Superior Court, where a large crowd had gathered for a hearing in the Karen Reed case. Miss Peter told the police that Aiden Carney was violating a restraining order by being within 100 yards of Lindsay Gaetani as he stood outside the Norfolk County Superior Court while Miss Gaetani was inside the courthouse. Considering this recording and irrefutable evidence that Miss Peter was or is a source for the Massachusetts State Police, aka the MSP. Yeah, you know me. And again, you can get access to the full document without my commentary. You can read it on your own time on Aiden's website, TB Daily News. Just look up Kate and Cover Up Part 419. Investigation into Mr. Carney. We anticipate that she will be a witness at Mr. Carney's upcoming trials. In view of Miss Peter, so I'm not going to go on and read this, but again, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Miss Peter, I unfortunately have a long history with her. She worked for me by writing blogs, doing a YouTube show on my channel from late 2018 to early 2020. I fired her after I found out that she was stealing money and later discovered that she was using fake accounts on social media to harm my business because I guess stealing money from your employer wasn't enough for Miss Kate Peta, or Catherine Peta, as she is formally addressed in Betterow's bombshell. After discovering that Miss Peter had a long documented history of CA, Miss Peter attempted to get a temporary ex parte harassment prevention order against me to stop me from writing about it, but failed when full year order was denied by Judge Daniel O'Shea. Now, again, Turtleboy has posted a ton of clips of him trying to interview Kate Peter as well, too. You can go check him out. Check out his channel. I can link it in my description box below. You probably already have seen it or have followed it in the past. I'm not going to show those clips here. I'm not really interested in her history with her children so much. That's not what I'm here to discuss. I'm here to talk about how she is involved. But again, a little bit of background history is important. And I think it's important too because when you consider how she's become essentially Paul O'Keefe's mouthpiece, Julie Grant from Court TV loves to give her a platform. So I think it's important to know who we are talking about, and then you can make your own opinion afterwards. But if that's not harassment, I don't know what is. While the temporary order was in place, she used a Google Doc that she still had access to in order to find login information for the Turtleboy Facebook page and then posted this threat to herself in an attempt to have me violated and charged. So this is, I guess, the comment from, because remember, he used to be Turtleboy Sports, so I guess that was his old Facebook group page. Kate, I know you're watching right now. You effed with my business, my livelihood, and family, you vile. See you next Tuesday. This is a promise. I will ruin your entire life. And I won't stop until everything you love is burned to the ground. You will suffer more than you have ever suffered before. You poked the turtle. Good luck, you bitch. So again, he's saying that she hacked in, she wrote this message addressing her, not him commenting to a post that she created. And I mean, you can even tell if you follow Turtleboy on Twitter and you have seen even like the way that he writes his community posts on YouTube, it's not really that hard to believe that that isn't him writing that, because he generally doesn't make vile threats like that. Like, you can just smell the vitriol from that. So I want to just play this clip really quick.
Earlier this afternoon, around estimated 1:30 to 2 o'clock range, published a comment underneath a story that says as follows: Kate, I know you're watching right now. You fucked with my business, my livelihood, my family, you vile cunt. This is a promise. I will ruin your entire life. I won't stop until everything you love is burnt to the ground. You will suffer more than you have ever suffered before you poke the turtle. Good luck, bitch. You'll notice it says author at the top of it, which indicates that this was the actual page that published this and not a fake page. This is the actual Turtleboy page. So to figure out who posted this, because I did not post this and I would never post something like this, and I was alerted about this, you go to your admins. And I looked at all the admins, and many of these are alternate accounts that I use or people that I trust use. To my knowledge, Kate Peter did not have access to this page. However, when I go on the settings, page management history, you'll notice that at 1:41 this afternoon, H. Paul was removed as an admin. H. Paul is Kate Peter's Facebook page. So she removed herself as an admin at 1:41 p.m. Now, I have many, of all these accounts on here, I've begun to go through and change all of the passwords on them, because I realized that Kate Peter and I both share access to a Google Doc account. This Google Doc account keeps track of all our Facebook aliases and the passwords associated with them. So Kate accessed this Google Doc account and signed in and posted that. But what name did she post it from? I began going through all of the names and changing all of the passwords and seeing the user activity. I am currently signed into a Sarah Jones account. You'll notice that right now I am logged in and Holden. Kate logged in using an Android device in Randolph 15 minutes ago. She did this.
I mean, talk about unhinged, am I wrong? That takes some serious stalker level commitment, but things only get even more interesting from there. Notice that Kate, while pretending to be me, wrote, I won't stop until everything you love is burned to the ground, if you ever seen that episode from South Park. The next day, coincidentally, a truck at her work was intentionally lit on fire and then intentionally extinguished before the truck could be completely destroyed. So then I guess this is a screenshot from a bunch of people making sure, hey, are you good? And then she says, what a creative name, Intoxicated. Are we in middle school? My employer isn't thrilled with the defendant. We have emails/calls logged though. The truck thing has me scared. Not gonna lie. Luckily, it burned out on its own. Had the fire spread to the gas tank or fuel pump, the whole office could have burned too. If my home address gets out, what then? Wait, your truck was set on fire? Do you have a camera system at your house? So this is, I guess, pictures of what her car looked like after the fire. I have no proof that she did this, but the timing was suspect. And again, we don't know, but this is, in fact, very interesting, curious timing. Who lights a truck on fire and then puts it out? Since then, she has spent the last 4 years dedicating her life to trying to have me charged for anything. She finally succeeded last October, then again in December, and in February. She started a YouTube channel, like I talked about, Masshole Troll Mafia, which is mostly dedicated to posting about my personal life, which again, I'm not interested in doing. I'm not going to play any clips from her YouTube channel, because I don't believe in platforming people like that, because even negative replies, even negative likes, no matter what, any kind of interaction, it's a little bit more negatively impactful on YouTube than it is on Twitter. But still, I don't believe in giving people like this a platform, no matter what point we are trying to prove here. So I'm just going to use the context of what is written in the article to give you an idea of what was said, etc. So we call these videos Turtleboy Bad, where she takes out of context clips from my show and then mashes it up together to completely change the message of whatever I was saying in an attempt to make me look bad. She was part of something called Team Storm a few years ago, which involved her and a couple of other mentally imbalanced women repeatedly calling various police departments to try to have me charged with crimes for my journalism. And again, no matter what you think about Turtleboy, if you like his investigative tactics, you don't, that is your right, that is your opinion. I'm not talking about that. At the end of the day, what happened in this specific case and is detailed in this letter is absolutely terrifying that people can do this. And people, especially again, in the MSP, which was so greatly celebrated the other day by constituents like Maura Healey and Andrea Campbell, who don't seem to have a problem with the way the Massachusetts State Police have been acting and behaving over the last several years. I mean, to quote them quite directly, or Andrea Campbell, there's always more room for more excellence, or something to that effect. You have to earn excellence, Andrea. You don't just get to say you're excellent. After Kate befriended Gretchen Voss last year, she got Voss to include a link to one of these videos in her Boston Magazine story about the Karen Reed case. So these are all, I guess, the clip mashups that she posted on her channel. Again, we are not going to watch them. She spent New Year's Eve live streaming herself walking around Boston, asking random people if they've ever heard of me in an attempt to prove I'm irrelevant or something. Kate's obsession with me has led her to stalk and harass friends and family members of mine, because she believes that anyone who associates with me deserves to have their lives severely disrupted. And again, if you want to say it's okay to have different opinions, right, especially in a case as tense as this, you can't claim harassment on one end and then completely be a total hypocrite to it and behave in the same exact way that you were claiming he is behaving. It just doesn't work. Because she believes that anyone who's associated, she will make exceptions for those who turn on me by providing her with screenshots of conversations with me, which Miss Peter then blasts on social media. But anyone who doesn't get doxxed, threatened, and becomes a target of prank phone calls and other juvenile forms of harassment. This obsession has done her no favors, as she has had multiple restraining orders placed on her. And again, this is the mouthpiece for Paul O'Keefe, that she has subsequently been charged with violating. She has also been charged with felony witness intimidation against me. Like, the irony in all of this, right? After posting several times that I would be physically attacked by her and her boyfriend, Andrew Johnson, if I showed up to court dates. Videos below. So let's just jump down really quickly, just because I like doing everything in chronological order.
Generally,
Does he have mental health issues?
oh, undoubtedly, and drug issues as well. You don't go after a child like this at all. I mean, the fact that he's also made comments, like he's referred to my daughter by name and said, Teresa, I'll protect you from your mother, like I'll come get you. There's some concern, is he going to try to kidnap her, particularly over the weekend? We get the pictures of the house and he's going, Kate, I'm outside your house, I'm outside your house. She won't go to school today because she's afraid. Her peers are hearing about this now, so she's afraid that they're going to believe these rumors. She says that she feels disgusting, that she's suicidal over this. She's afraid that he's going to try to snatch her coming home from school. I work full-time in Bridgewater. I've installed security cameras at my home now, just in case people come back. I feel like we're being stalked. And, you know, it's been a long back and forth between the two of him. I certainly would not escalate to this level, but I've said.
But the thing I don't understand is, like, why would he be stalking her? Like, what's the gain for him stalking and harassing you, right? So in March, and a lot of what she said in that particular, I guess, testimony, right, or that recording, seems very ironic later on when you hear some of the other recordings we're going to listen to in a bit. In March of last year, Kate had her 16-year-old daughter, who constantly uses for content and writes extremely personal things. About that, a child would not want their mother to post on social media, reach out to the Turtleboy Facebook group. A teenager threatened to harm my then 5 and 7-year-old children, which is never cool. It's like, why do we have to bring the freaking kids into it? There's no reason to do that. No reason on any side, right? Made horrifying, disgusting, inappropriate remarks about them. She threatened to send prawn images of me to my children, which she had received from her mother, Miss Peter, which is, again, like, why do you have access to that? That's so freaking weird of your former employer, right? Kate then used this interaction to get a restraining order against me and got a temporary ex parte order after telling a judge that I was trying to kidnap her daughter. So that, again, is in reference to this clip. While the order was in place, Kate spoofed my number to her daughter to make it look like I had called her, and then went to the police to try to have me arrested. At the two-party hearing a week later, the order was dropped after Kate forced her daughter to read the horrifying messages she had sent me about my children in open court. I mean, it doesn't even sound the crazy part about all this, right? From what I'm understanding, Kate used to work for Turtleboy. Kate steals money from his business. She naturally gets fired because that's what happens when you steal money from the boss and the place of work, right? That you work at. It doesn't sound like he pressed charges, right? I could see you being upset maybe about that, but it seems like you're the winner in all of this, Kate. Like, you stole the money, allegedly. You stole the money. Sure, okay, you get fired, but that should be enough for you to get by, get on with your life, get a new job. Like, that's usually what happens when people get fired. They get a different job. They don't make a career of harassing their ex-employer, allegedly. So, at the two-party hearing later last week, the order was dropped after Kate forced her daughter to read the horrifying messages she had sent me about my children in open court.
Do you consider allegations that your children have molested each other at the age of 6 and 3 to be of public concern?
Do I consider molestation of public concern? Is that what you're asking?
Let me rephrase the question. Does the Boston Globe often identify two children as potentially molesting each other? Is that something that's public concern?
I don't read the Boston Globe.
Objection, Judge. I don't know the relevance to this.
Objection is overruled, so the...
You to read the highlighted portion for His Honor. I have to read the whole thing? I'm going to ask you to read the highlighted portion for His Honor. Do I have to read this? You do. I'll make your kids want to fucking kill themselves from embarrassment. No, Ms. Kelly, I'm going to ask you to read that highlighted portion for His Honor.
I'm not my mother. I'm more heartless. I'll send your kids your dick pic.
Kelly, I'm going to ask you to read that highlighted portion.
After I read this, can I say something about this?
You'll have an opportunity to testify, yeah.
Let me call.
And let me call means you wanted to call Mr. Kearney, correct?
Oh, don't worry. I have messages of him asking me to call into the show before that message.
When you said let me call, you wanted to contact Mr. Kearney.
After he asked me to.
At no point. Where do you tell me where he
A crop screenshot, ma'am? Because I have my phone with me. It's in the messages.
Show me where he asked you to call, ma'am.
That's fine. Can I log in on your phone? My phone's on one.
Am I brief?
I've seen the messages. I can attest that he was asking her to call. He had.
I'll try to pull it up before my phone dies.
This is what I'm talking about here.
How dare you bring your child into something like this? That is so disgusting. I mean, it's like, I obviously don't believe any of this is true, meaning that Turtleboy was harassing and asking her teenage daughter to call him. Like, what purpose would that possibly serve? But how dare you bring this kid? And I don't blame her daughter at all. I mean, she's a child. She doesn't have proper consent to do any of these things. It's not like she's an adult who's willingly conspiring with her mother and okay to go forth and prosper and follow the same delinquent path that her mother has set before herself. And I feel really horrible because no child should have to read messages like this, especially in public court. How disgusting. So, again, just to give you some context about that, I'm not going to play all the clips, but again, I just want to give you context of who Kate Peter is before we dive back into the document. So he says he doesn't want anything to do with her. Any feud we have is one-sided, and wasting time on her will only stunt my professional growth. However, she makes it difficult to ignore her when she's constantly meddling in my personal life and contacting my family members and friends. Makes it even more difficult when she conspires to send me to jail. Yeah, exactly. When I first broke the Karen Reed story, my viewership exploded. I never spoke about Miss Peter and had left her completely in the dust. But instead of moving on with her life, Kate had to involve herself. Her immediate instinct, and I almost wonder if it's because the rapid popularity of Turtleboy, right? Even when this case really started to break the mainstream media, you couldn't really hear a report without mentioning Turtleboy as well too, right? So I almost wonder if it was out of jealousy, envy, why she felt it was necessary to inject herself in something like this, right? She couldn't just take the fact that he was breaking this story that has now become globally known, and she wasn't a part of it. I don't know. I don't care. But I think, it is important to get the full context. And now that you can kind of hear some of her recordings, again, I want you to form your own opinions about what you think is potentially true or not. Her immediate instinct was to take the opposite position as me and began making videos that hardly anyone watched, in which she defended the McAlberts and attacked Karen Reed. Again, I'm not going to platform her because there ain't no point. But that wasn't enough. In late May, Kate sent me an email from an anonymous email account claiming to be a friend of Colin Alberts and reporting to me. And I remember watching this episode of on Turtleboy's channel talking about this and reading the email out loud. That Colin sold drugs out of D&E Pizza. She was the source of this rumor, which I repeatedly have said there is no evidence of. I read the email on my show with the caveat that it was unconfirmed, which he did, clear as day, and there was no evidence to back it up. She then did a stream laughing about how she had trolled me into reporting fake news in order to discredit my journalism. Her life completely revolves around me. The McAlberts welcomed her with open arms, as no one in the media was defending them, and they had to take what they could get. Kate came to my house during the rolling rally and posted pictures from my driveway, along with a threatening letter she left at our door in order to gain the approval of the McAlberts. FYI, Aiden's mailbox is on the ground. I guess she went back to Kate Peter on Facebook. I don't know if she always had that, or if she was always operating by an alias beforehand. Who the heck knows? But I mean, she obviously, in these court appearances, and as he was writing about her, she became more public knowledge. So I don't know, maybe she used that to her own advantage, right? To platform herself. Is on the ground, held up by an effing rope. His soft hands had never touched a hammer before. I'm less certain about other men's flapping appendages is, though. I mean, it's like there's, like, okay, cool. Like, you're so funny. And look, Tim Albert. Laughing face emoji. So this, again, now we're coming back to that 911 call, and then we're going to again, tie it all back into the next part of the Betero letters. And again, if you want to read the whole document, you can. It's embedded on his website in this article without my commentary. When we were given Lindsay Gaetani's cell phone, so Lindsay Gaetani is the character we were introduced to last Betero Bombshell Part 1, right? She is the scorned ex-lover of Aiden Carney, who again, I guess also can't seem to move on. Usually when people get dumped, they just move on with their lives and find a new partner eventually, but I guess she is still holding a bit of a candle to Aiden, enough to try and destroy his life. I mean, no matter how dirty an ex has done me, I have never once been inclined to be like, yes, my life's goal is to see you thrown in jail, prison for the rest of your life, and destroy everything you hope and love. Like, I don't know, but that's just me. What say you? When we were given Lindsay Gaetani's cell phone extraction by Lieutenant Brian Tully in late April, we weren't surprised to see that Miss Peter appeared to be the driving force behind all my charges. Yesterday, Attorney Betero sent a letter to the Commonwealth outlining some of the things we discovered in the extraction. For starters, it was Miss Peter who called 911 on February 26th to falsely report that I was in violation of a restraining order after the victim after Lindsay Gaetani, he calls her the fake victim, I'm going to just call her by her name, showed up to a Karen Reed hearing for the first time with the McAlberts in order to force me to leave this court. So let's listen.
At the internet right now, I'm watching. There's an individual named Aiden Carney. He was just removed from the courtroom. He's in violation of a restraining order. He's refusing to leave the courthouse steps. He's within 100 yards of this victim, and he's currently screeching about how she's there. So he's definitely in violation of his restraining order. You might want to get someone down there.
Okay. But my question also is like, why are you tuning into his lives?
So Aiden Carney is at the courthouse. He's in violation of a restraining order?
Restraining order, yeah.
Do you know who the RO is against?
The victim is Lindsay Gaetani. She's there with the John O'Keefe's mother right now, Mrs. O'Keefe. So he's, instead of leaving the courthouse on the steps screaming about it, I know it's a football field. He needs to stay away.
But how'd you know, girlfriend, that she was with Peggy? How'd you know that one if you weren't there?
Okay, he's out on the steps currently.
Yep.
Can you describe what he looks like?
He is he's a short guy, about 5'8", glasses. He's wearing a suit jacket. He's got a cell phone in front of his face. His nose kind of looks like a penis.
Okay.
I love the reaction of the 911 operator because they're like, really? Like, because it's not necessary. Like, you can just hear the hate, the vitriol. This is not somebody who's legitimately trying to report a crime, right? Somebody who is seriously concerned about the safety of this woman. And it's like, how do you even know this woman, right? You say Lindsay Gaetani, the victim. Is she your friend? Is she your family member? Is she a man passed out in the snow? Like, it's that degree of separation, right? If I'm calling on behalf of my friend and I say, hey, oh my gosh, I noticed that they're a stalker. I watched this clip, my friend, their name is so-and-so. They recently got a restraining order against this person. I'm seeing on TV, it's being reported, or somebody told me. I don't know if it's true. That would seem a little bit more sincere and believable. But I mean, and the fact that you have to inject comments about the shape of his nose, like, it, again, how do you take this stuff seriously? But he asked the same question. How did Miss Peter know that Lindsay Gaetani was in the courtroom? If Miss Peter wasn't there, again, and how did you know she was with Peggy O'Keefe if you weren't there? Who are you to Lindsay Gaetani, if not friends? If she's not telling you where exactly she is and what she is doing, who she is with.
What color shirt or jacket is he wearing?
Right now it is, I would say that's a gray.
Gray? White male, black male?
White.
Okay.
Yeah, gray jacket, blue shirt.
Okay. And are you...
green tie.
Are you just a witness, or?
I just happened to be watching it online, and he's screaming about how he got removed from the courthouse due to a restraining order, but he's definitely still in violation of the restraining order as he sits on the steps. So.
Okay. All right. Can I grab your name for the record?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Kate Peter, Peter.
Okay. And your date of birth?
12/29/1987.
Okay.
In 1987, so what does that make you? That makes you 10, 20, 30, almost 4. I mean, it's a little, like, I don't like dragging people for their looks. I really don't, but it's looking a little rough for not even 40.
All right. All good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
So that was the 911 call. And I love how Betero comes out real clutch, like right off the gate with like issue number 1, page 1. Like there's no fluff, right? A lot of times there's a lot of buildup to what they're going to be presenting and where they're citing this evidence from. But Betero just gets right to the gut punch, right? So again, but how did she know she was inside the courtroom if Miss Peter wasn't there? This evidence that she orchestrated the ordeal in order to have me violated charge and sent me back to jail just 3 days after I got out of jail, because again, he went to prison the county jail for 60 days. Then he was bailed out after the 60 days. And then he went to the Karen Reed hearing, one of the pretrial hearings. And this is where, again, this alleged, it sounds like entrapment, in my opinion. Does it not? Of the setup, getting Lindsay to attend this pretrial hearing so that he couldn't be physically there. Attorney Betero now intends to call Ms. Peter as a witness. The defense now calls Catherine Peter. And wants any evidence of her involvement as a government informant. Yep, this included all communications in her phone. On October 1st, 2024, Mr. Cosgrove provided the defense with a recording of Catherine Peters. 2024 911 call. So we read that one. Sorry. Let's here. In view of Miss Peters' status as an MSP source, any communications and evidence in her possession regarding the investigation and prosecution of Mr. Carney is deemed to be within your possession, custody, and control. See Commonwealth versus Pope. Prosecution's disclosure obligation extends to anyone who has participated in the investigation or evaluation of the case and who either regularly report or with reference to the particular case have reported to the prosecution. Accordingly, pursuant to Brady versus Maryland, Giglio versus United States, Graham versus District Attorney for Hampden District, and Rule 14, which we heard a lot about during the Brian Walsh case, right, of the Massachusetts Rules of Criminal Procedure. We demand disclosure of, here we go, folks, any evidence that Miss Peter acted as an informant or agent of the MSP or Norfolk County District Attorney's Office or Special Assistant District Attorneys prosecuting Mr. Carney, aka Mr. Marshmallow, including but not limited to whether she is registered as an informant, whether she is active or was deactivated, names of any MSP handlers, aka Brian Tully, when she became a source, when she started assisting the MSP and or the Commonwealth with respect to Mr. Carney, and any benefits, promises, rewards, leniency in her own criminal matters. And I feel like that is the biggest bonus for her. Aside from sending Turtleboy off to jail, that is probably also what it is too. I'm curious to see the arrangement that they created for her. Or inducements she sought, received, or expects in connection with her cooperation against Mr. Carney, or could also be very well where they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll help you out. We'll make sure certain things, you don't get charged with certain things, or certain things get dropped, what have you. Or we'll go easy on you with this, that, and the third. but maybe never intend to fulfill on it. I don't know. I feel like the MSP, you can't trust them no matter what side you're coming in out of them. All evidence and information in whatever form Ms. Peter furnished to the Commonwealth and or MSP involving the investigation or prosecution of Mr. Carney. Any records of Ms. Peters' communications, including but not limited to emails, calls, text messages, instant messages, Instagram direct messages, Discord messages, Facebook messages, Twitter X messages. I love that you called it Twitter X. Or any other third-party messaging applications related to her contacts and interactions with Mr. Carney, Ms. Gaetani, Leah Genduso, who was mentioned in the first bombshell, a Commonwealth MSP, or any other law enforcement agency regarding Mr. Carney between October 1st, 2023 and the present, and any documentation or memorialization of statements made by Ms. Peter to the Commonwealth MSP or any other law enforcement agency regarding Mr. Carney and or Ms. Gaetani in any form, including but not limited to written reports, notes, emails, text messages, audio, or video recordings. Ms. Peters' role as a source for the MSP in the Commonwealth, because you know he brings receipts, Law Daddy. Ms. Peter and Mr. Carney are former colleagues, which again we went through. Motivated by hatred for Mr. Carney, Ms. Peter aligned herself with Ms. Gaetani and others who disliked Mr. Carney's reporting, including members of the Albert and McCabe families. Shout out to you folks, some of whom are named in the first indictment against Mr. Carney. These alliances have enabled her to exploit the criminal justice system, which I love to say that Karen Reed is, and love to say that Turtleboy is, which makes absolutely no sense. In furtherance of her effort to ruin Mr. Carney, Ms. Peters' dedication to this task was so thorough that the MSP and Commonwealth utilized her services to assist them in their investigation and prosecution of Mr. Carney, Ms. Peter, and then we'll get back to that in 1 second. Ms. Peter bragged to Lindsay that she had Talia and Marshmallow's private phone numbers. If that don't make you an informant, folks, I don't know what do. And could get her in touch with them so that Lindsay could be deputized as a witness. Because again, she's the informant, so then witness, intimidation. So he would be arrested for witness intimidation if I caused her any emotional damage by writing about what she had done. Lieutenant John Fanning testified at the grand jury on February 22nd, in which I was indicted for wiretapping and witness intimidation against Lindsay, and said Miss Peter provided videos of me to the state police and DA's office that they can't find or document on their own. Keep in mind, this is the same woman who admittedly drafted a fraudulent, non-existent federal complaint and submitted it to YouTube to try to have my channel copyright struck. I'm curious to hear what this is about.
Admitted to forging a federal court document against Turtleboy with YouTube copyright. How can anyone trust you not to forge other documents?
Well, because I admitted it.
I mean, because she admitted it. So you can trust I won't never do it again. Because if I do it again, then I'll just admit it all over again. Logic plus what equals, huh? Anyways, she was the only source of evidence the state police used to charge me with a felony by providing a doctored 30-second video, which she claimed was the original version of another video. On the evening of February 26th, knowing that Lindsay had filed a false police report, I'm curious to know what kind of criminal charges you can get for that, for filing a false police report in Massachusetts. Whoever intentionally and knowingly makes or causes to be made a false report of a crime to police officers shall be punished by a fine of not less than 100 or more than 500 doll hairs, or by imprisonment in a jail or house of correction for not more than 1 year or Both. Okay, so, I mean, kind of like a slap on the wrist. I guess it depends on how heinous the allegations were to the person. On the evening, with the Dedham police, in which she made up a story about me yelling at her outside of the court. Miss Peter left 2 disturbing voicemails for me when she called me homophobic slurs, which I love. I am going to reclaim these words myself. Miss Peter, blah, blah, blah. And she told me she was for the reason I would be going back to jail. Sorry, guys, it's a little late. Miss Peter, who had no direct involvement in these matters and is not an alleged victim, was provided with Mr. Marshmallows and the MSP Detective Lieutenant D.L. Tully's private cellular device numbers. Thus, Miss Peter had the ability to call and text both on their private devices, because I guess that's what you just do, man. Like, you just get random state police lieutenants' phones and text them when you're bored, right? You up? As a valued source of information against Mr. Carney, Miss Peter had presented the MSP with video evidence, scoured Mr. Carney's online presence, and reported things to the MSP that they can't find or document, including a 30-second clip of a video that Miss Peter sent to Tully, which the Commonwealth used to secure Mr. Carney's indictment for wiretapping. See grand jury transcript of MSP Lieutenant John Fanning, who I guess, I don't know. I wonder if he'll go back under internal affairs investigation. Probably not, because that's not how it works in the MSP, baby. But his investigation was concluded recently, or somewhat recently. February 22nd, 2024. February 26th, 2024, several hours after Miss Peter called the police to help orchestrate Mr. Carney's prosecution for allegedly violating a restraining order. She left Mr. Carney 2 crude, harassing, and in part threatening voicemails. In the first message, Miss Peter gloated about her value as a source to the Commonwealth. And let's just take a listen of this first one, right, folks? So this is the first one, and then we'll get into the second one.
Hey, faggot, it's Kate. Kate Peter, crusty panties, how you call it. I just wanted to let you know, every time you get a block number, it's not Lindsay or LG or anyone else, it's me. And I just want to let you know that when you go back to jail, I had absolutely everything.
Why are you yelling in the phone? That's my first reaction. My second reaction is, if you're going to use, look. You don't get to claim the word faggot. I do, because I am one. I identify as a faggot. If you were going to use homophobic slurs, you best be a homo. And I know you ain't. So I'm offended. I am offended by that. And I reclaim that word. You bundle of sticks.
To fucking do with it, because you're a dumb motherfucker, right? And every time that you victimize a female, I'm going to be right there pushing back. I just want you to know that, please.
And as a fellow woman, I'm also offended at the fact that you're talking about victimizing women, but here you are victimizing men. You are literally victimizing, harassing, by calling this man unwarranted, admitting that you're doing it unwarranted, but that's not harassment. It sounds like you could use a little water too. Just gonna throw that one in.
Just on your fucking live show, I am going to get the best of you. You're a bad person, and everybody's going to see it. Have a nice day. By the way, Karen Reed wants nothing to do with you. Go fuck yourself.
It sounds a lot, too, like the Colin Albert Snapchat from a couple of months ago that he posted with that girl who looked like, I don't know. She looked pretty incapacitated, and it's just the same, oh, we're gonna take you all down, the world's gonna find out, It sounds like you were in middle school, Miss Catherine. In the second harassing and threatening message, Miss Peter demonstrated her familiarity with an incorrect understanding of the Massachusetts Witness Intimidation Statute. I love the shade. So instead of, again, reading it, let's just listen.
Hey, faggot, I can see that you could.
Okay, again, enough with the bundle of sticks. I get that you really enjoy potentially putting together campfires. I do too. But can we use a different word? You do not get to claim that word. I do.
Can post my voicemails on your Twitter because you're a bitch. Why can't you face a female? I am not afraid of you. I never witness intimidated you. You're not a witness in any case. You're just a small dick fucking faggot that likes to prey on women. Call me back, motherfucker. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you did to Lindsay. Let's talk about what you did to Jen McCabe. Let's talk about what you did to Colin Albert, a 19-year-old juvenile.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. Kate, do you know that juvenile means under the age of 18? At 19 years old, you are considered an adult in the United States. You are old enough to serve in the military. Not old enough to yet drink, but I think in most states you're able to buy cigarettes. He is not a juvenile. Like, if Colin got ever indicted with anything, he'd be facing big boy jail. He wouldn't be going down to juvie. He'd be going to big boy jail. But all right.
Let's talk about it, Aiden. Why are you so afraid of... I know that you're not. You just want to self-victimize. But how's your wife doing, by the way? How are your abused and neglected children doing, by the way?
Well, that's a rich one.
Call me back, you fucking faggot. I'll drive over to your parents' house right now. Fuck you.
But that's not witness intimidation. But rubber ducks is where we draw the line, folks. So Kate made it clear in those voicemails that she knew the witness intimidation statute allows people to leave threatening voicemails like this for people so long as they are not a witness in an ongoing legal matter. She knew the statute well and planned to have the police weaponize it against me. This is exactly why they plan to deputize the Lindsay Gaetani as a witness against me. At a hearing for a restraining order I had applied for at Leominster District Court in March, which was granted, Miss Peter testified that she had been cooperating with the prosecution and giving them information on me. So again, you're admitting you're homies with Brian Sully and Marshmallow. She also announced that she had met with Marshmallow after my arraignment, along with the so-called victims and witnesses I had just been arrested for intimidating. Miss Peters' cooperation with the government is so strong that Colin, you know why? Because I was having a thought too, and I've said this before. If Colin wasn't in the house, then how was he a witness to a crime? He couldn't have possibly been a witness to a crime if he wasn't physically there, right? So by you naming him in the list of witnesses that are being intimidated, you are admitting he is, in fact, a witness to the crime. I mean, that's just my interpretation, right, of what witness means, but what say you? So strong that the Norfolk DA's office has recused itself from 2 criminal charges she has been charged with in Stoughton and Denham. On March 11th, 2024, Miss Peter again took credit for her substantial contributions to the Commonwealth and MSP, boasting under oath that Mr. Kearney is angry and upset with me because I have been cooperating with the prosecution, giving them information on him. He can blame all of his problems because I am furnishing information. It's like, how dumb are you? Like the dumbest criminals. On September 5th, 2024, testifying in a West Roxbury matter, in which she was accused of witness intimidation and violation of a restraining order, Ms. Peter described herself as a potential witness in Mr. Carney's criminal cases. She swore under oath that when she saw her accuser on October 11th, 2023, in the Stoughton District Court where Mr. Carney was being arraigned, she was there to meet Mr. Marshmallow, even though she wasn't named as an alleged victim in that or any other case. So it's like, why are you talking to him then, girl? Footnote. Minutes later, Miss Peters sent Mr. Carney the following message on Discord. Aiden, you flapping appendingless fagot. Answer your phone. That's like her favorite word. I don't get it. Like, it's just so, ugh. Like, I get it, ugh. You don't get to use that word. You don't. We intend to examine Miss Peter and Mr. Mello under oath about the purpose of this meeting. Yes, and I hope Mark Betterow gets to cross-examine them. And the substance of their conversation at the January 10th, 2025 evidentiary hearing on our motion to disqualify Mr. Marshmallow under Rule 3.7 of the Massachusetts Rule of Professional Conduct. Miss Peters' working relationship with the MSP and Commonwealth is so strong that the DA's office had to recuse itself from 2 witness intimidation prosecutions currently pending against her, which we saw. So this is, I guess, the Discord?
Mr. Carney is currently the criminal defendant in a Superior Court indictment, several counts of witness intimidation, several counts of picketing and parading. He has more charges coming right now involving some matters that I don't really want to discuss. They're very sensitive relating to domestic violence. So he is angry and upset with me because I have been cooperating with the prosecution and giving them information on him. A lot of the quotes that he puts in here that are not relevant to the statute at all, where I say that he can blame me for all of his problems, is because I am furnishing information. This is retaliatory.
Does a woman ever breathe?
I was at the courthouse. She showed up per her account about an hour after I was there. I never saw her. I was never alerted to her presence. I stayed in the courtroom. I went downstairs to meet with the special prosecutor and the rest of the group that I was with, and then I left. 9 hours later.
She also posted on Twitter that she was responsible for my suffering and that she was behind the Jane account. Because again, she created all these fake accounts to, I guess, yeah, so Masshole Mafia. And she even has a picture of Turtleboy here. I mean, it's just so weird. Hey, Dr. Turtleboy, answer your phone. Yeah, so this is what we read before. The Jane account was me. I'm responsible for all your suffering. Blame me. In a text message from Lindsay Gaetani on December 12th, she said that I had no idea that the reason a special prosecutor was appointed to Miss Peters' case was because Miss Peter was working with the Popo. Yet at Miss Peters' arraignment in Denham on October 1st, there was no special prosecutor, and Norfolk ADA made no mention of Miss Peters' 4 prior charges, which normally would have resulted in a bail revocation. Indeed, Miss Peter admitted as much to Miss Gaetani, who documented this fact in a text message she sent to Miss Peter on December 12th. So this is what he's referring to. Mr. Carney thinks her case is being moved because he is a conflict of interest. He has no idea it's because you are working with the police. LOL. So funny. Laugh out loud. Ha ha ha. Goes without saying that any evidence within your possession, custody, or control related to Miss Peters' relationship with Commonwealth and MSP, including a possible motive to favor the prosecution over Mr. Carney, must be disclosed under Brady and its progeny. See Banks versus, I guess it's Drake, Commonwealth versus Barry, Miss Peters' direct role in the prosecutions against Mr. Carney. So here's a footnote. Notwithstanding the DA's office recusal on Miss Peters' criminal matters, that office inexplicably represented the Commonwealth at her most recent arraignment for witness intimidation on October 1st. That appearance afforded the Commonwealth with a strong basis to seek revocation of her bail, which would have been an expected motion from a disinterested prosecutor, given that Miss Peter has 4 pending witness intimidation cases, which nobody likes to talk about, and yet these are the people. This is Paul O'Keefe's mouthpiece. This is the face for the O'Keefe family. I mean, it's just sick, right? This is who Julie Grant gives a platform to. Good job, Julie Grant. Good job, Court TV. However, on information and belief, the Norfolk DA's office didn't notify the court about Miss Peters' special relationship with the Commonwealth and MSP. Love the snark. Consequently, the court likely was kept ignorant about their special relationship and wasn't presented with an application to revoke Miss Peters' bail. In these circumstances, there is at least an appearance of preferential treatment provided to Miss Peter by the Norfolk DA's office due to her cooperation against Mr. Carney. In the first edition of the Better Letters, we saw how Lindsay Gaetani reached out to disgraced former state trooper Leah Genduso, specifically because she knew Genduso didn't like me after I exposed her in 2018 as a drug dealer, which led her to losing her job. Miss Genduso and Lindsay plotted to play him at his own game by deputizing Lindsay as a witness and getting her bogus witness intimidation charges put on me. Miss Peters spoke with Lindsay after that and plotted to get her to speak with Mello on a private, non-government phone line because that's what they do in the Commonwealth, so that I can request their communications with a FOIA. Miss Peter bragged about her close relationship with law enforcement, yes, because they're celebrities, right? And the McAlberts, as well as local journalist Gretchen Voss, who she wanted to get Lindsay in touch with to do a hit piece on me. Miss Peters' involvement in cases involving Miss Gaetani is more apparent. Evidence from the extraction report of Miss Gaetani's cell phone demonstrates that Miss Peter advised Miss Gaetani throughout the process that resulted in Miss Gaetani accusing Mr. Carney of crimes. For example, in early December 2023, Miss Peter leveraged her special relationship with the Commonwealth and MSP and urged Miss Gaetani to speak with Mr. Marshmallow. On the morning of December 11th, 2023, just hours before Miss Gaetani and Leah Genduso workshopped making Miss Gaetani a witness against Mr. Carney so Miss Gaetani could play him at his own game and have him jailed. See September 12th letter. Miss Peter encouraged Miss Gaetani to speak directly, secretly with Mr. Mello. Miss Peter's reasoning was to prevent the existence and substance of the conversation from being discovered by Mr. Carney or others who might later seek access to public records. Miss Peter, I'm going to work on getting you some legal protection here. Miss Gaetani, how? Miss Peter, I'm going to call Mello in a bit when calms down here. I almost said hits the fan. Feel out the situation. You have some information that would certainly be an incentive for the powers that be to protect you. Don't tell anyone we talked, please. Miss Peter, I've got his cell number. It can't be FOIA'd. His line is obviously not recorded. LOL. Miss Peter, I know you were asking for Tully's number yesterday, but it's actually better to go straight to Marshmallow at this point. Miss Peter, honestly, they take more info than they give. LOL. Common misconception that I get my info from the DA or MSP. I don't, generally speaking. I just have a really good relationship with the O'Keefes, Alberts, McCabe's, and several local journalists working on this thing, meaning Gretchen Voss. Okay, so I did talk to Marshmallow off the record with some specifics. That evening, Miss Peter enticed Miss Gaetani to speak with the journalist preparing an expose on Mr. Carney. After impressing Miss Gaetani by describing her direct relationship with the reporter, including that she had dinner with the reporter, Miss Peter urged Miss Gaetani to share invaluable perspective with the reporter. The next day, Miss Gaetani, who had not yet spoken to Mr. Mello, replied, "Oh my God, really? I'll gladly talk with the reporter." On December 28th, 2023, Mr. Marshmallow told the Fall River Reporter that Miss Gaetani recently became a witness after we received some communication from her. Like, isn't that something that you would want to keep private, Marshmallow, or were you already losing some of those nuts and bolts in your brain? I don't know, but I think Jess Machado, who is been covering this case and conducted that interview with Mello, created a whole thread. I think she might have even done a video on it as well. I think she even started her own podcast. I have no idea, but I know there is like a video, I think, of her talking about this interview, and there is a recording of it. So if you want to go check it out, I'll try and link it below. I haven't listened to it in full, but it is fascinating, and it gives a lot of context to more of what is stated here. From the evening of December 23rd, 13th, excuse me, the defense is entitled to know what advice Miss Peter provided Miss Gaetani, who's concerned about her own criminal exposure. Shortly before she spoke to the MSP for the first time, Miss Gaetani, I'm worried now. Miss Peter, worried about? Miss Peter, ugh, no, I'm worried. Miss Gaetani, no, just worried for Jane. Once again, Jane is, based on the substance of Miss Gaetani's responses, it appears that some of Miss Peters' responses are not included in the extraction report of Miss Gaetani's phone. Was that considered witness intimidation? I can't even remember now what the tweet said that he was so mentioning. Miss Peter, she said nothing that any reasonable person could reach and say is witness intimidation. Miss Gaetani, okay, well, I'm going to be calling you before my meeting tomorrow anyways with more questions about this. I feel like that's... So, again, Miss Gaetani is Jane. She lied to Catherine Peter about the identity of Jane. She created that fake Twitter persona on her cell phone in October 2023. What is it with these people creating these, like, fake accounts? Like, I can't even keep track of my own accounts, like my main accounts, man. Let alone all these fake pseudonym ones. To anonymously communicate with people who disliked Mr. Carney and to release harmful information about him. The above text suggests that Miss Gaetani was concerned that if she spoke to the MSP and gave them her cell phone, they would discover that she was Jane and that she violated the same witness intimidation statute that she and Miss Peter, because you're a bunch of numbnuts, and Miss Jen Duso sought to exploit as the basis for Mr. Carney's arrest and incarceration. Now, I gotta say, to Mr. Marshmallow and Mr. Tully, you guys could have picked slightly smarter idiots. Just saying. If you're really looking to get away with this. Like, I mean, as dumb as Jen McCabe is, like, this is other level dumb. Like, she's not this dumb. When I went to Lindsay's apartment on the night of December 23rd, she showed me all these messages and told me that Miss Peter had told her that her and Gretchen Voss did mushrooms together. We're close friends. So wild. Like, what is this turning into, guys? Betterow pointed out how communications between Miss Peter and Lindsay show that regularly watched my shows and would know that I was attending the hearing on the 26th of February. In fact, the cell phone extraction shows that Miss Peter told Miss Gaetani in January that Paul O'Keefe wanted to talk to her. I can't wait for this part. This part is like absolutely insane. She would later testify, which got her very excited. She would later testify in April that Mr. O'Keefe personally invited her to court that day. However, when I spoke with Paul, he said that this was untrue and that there was a miscommunication. It appears as if Miss Peter acted as the intermediary between the two of them, and lied to them both in order to make sure that Lindsay would come to court and have me arrested. So again, this is all tying back together with that first page with the 911 call that Kate Peter made about Turtleboy violating that restraining order. Miss Peter also was the driving force for his arrest. Again, all context that we just read. Several weeks earlier in January 2024, Miss Peter told Miss Gaetani that Paul O'Keefe, the brother of Boston police officer John O'Keefe, yes, thank you, Mark Betterow, for addressing him by his title and what he was, right? And by his name, not JJ. Wanted to meet her. Miss Gaetani excitedly responded, Paul O'Keefe wants to talk to me? Emphasis in original. In April 2024, like he's some freaking celebrity, right? Like Jason Statham. Miss Gaetani, who had not attended any other Reed proceedings, testified that she went in February at the personal invitation of Paul O'Keefe. Mr. O'Keefe's communications with Mr. Carney contradict Miss Gaetani. So he's essentially saying Paul never said, yes, I want you to come. She shows up. And then later on, we've heard Peggy even say to Turtleboy at some point, I don't think it was the same day. I think it was a totally different day. Like, oh, how's Lindsay? You know, making a snide remark like that. So I don't think that they minded that she showed up there. But I don't think that it was intentional on the O'Keefe family side, to give them credit there, right? I don't think they were part of that conspiracy or setup. This was all Catherine Peters doing. You know, and it's funny because, like, as I'm reading this almost feels like season 2 of, like, the Karen Reed. Like, if Karen Reed was, like, a fictional, because it feels fictional at this point, right? It's like a fictional HBO series, right? Season 1, the villain was, like, the McAlberts, right? And they're still very much the villains in all of this. But season 2, we introduced a new cast of characters where it's like, oh, Catherine Peter as, like, the evil mastermind, right? It's so insane. It's so unreal. He told Mr. Carney there was a miscommunication. Mr. O'Keefe's explanation suggests that Miss Peter told Miss Gaetani that Mr. O'Keefe wanted her to appear in court to entice Miss Gaetani, who had an open restraining order against Mr. Carney, to attend Miss Peter's communication with Miss Gaetani. And again, if you're really afraid, right, as Lindsay, as she says, really afraid of Turtleboy, which is why most people would get a restraining order, is because they're afraid of that person and they don't want to be anywhere near that person. They don't want to be where they are and they don't want them to be where they are. So if you know he's attending these court appearances and covering the story, of course he's going to be there as long as he's allowed to be there, right? Why would she willingly show up there for a case that has nothing to do with her when she hadn't been there at all prior to then? She's not a reporter. She's not a journalist. She's not a commentator, a YouTuber, right, covering the trial. She's not a free Karen Reed supporter at this point, to my knowledge, right? So why would you be at the courthouse, right? If you're really afraid and you know he's going to be there, it makes absolutely no sense other than you're colluding to get him in trouble. Miss Peters' communication with Miss Gaetani and Mr. O'Keefe will shed light on this question. In any event, it appears Miss Peter coordinated Miss Gaetani's presence at the appearance to make Mr. Carney make sure he would not be able to attend, and to increase the likelihood that Mr. Carney would be arrested if he went to the courthouse. And I think it's the latter. I don't think it's to make sure he didn't attend. They wanted him to attend. That's why, obviously, he didn't know about it. He was just going about his business as usual. She accomplished her goals. Mr. Carney was required to leave the courtroom after Miss Gaetani arrived with her restraining order in hand, which is also bizarro. Like, why are you just carrying that thing? He went outside and began a live stream to explain the situation to his interested viewers. Miss Peter, who wasn't even there, immediately called the police, as we heard earlier. We're not going to go in through that again. Miss Peters' communications are discoverable and favorable. Communications and statements of Miss Peter are discoverable under Brady, Giglio, and Rule 14, irrespective of whether you intend to call her as a prosecution witness, because they are. The defense now calls Catherine Peter evil mastermind. Conspiracy. I don't know where I was going with that. It's late, guys. I'm doing my best here. The Commonwealth is in possession, custody, and control of the requested evidence. See Pope. On March 14th, Mr. Marshmallow attempted to use this incident as a basis to revoke Mr. Carney's bail after an evidentiary hearing at which the Denham police officers who interacted with Mr. Carney and Miss Gaetani on February 26th testified. The court refused to detain Mr. Carney. No duh. On April 26, 2024, after an evidentiary hearing at which Miss Gaetani testified about her version of what occurred on February 26, the court lessened the conditions of the restraining order against Mr. Carney because, again, they were like, look, he's covering this case. Of course he's going to be at the pretrial hearings, right? He's going to be there. That's what a reporter does. That's what a journalist covering any case does. They go to the courthouse record what's going on, and then reports back later on. So, of course, he's going to be there. Why in the world would he know or expect Lindsay Gaetani, the person he's trying to avoid, who has a restraining order against him, why would he willingly show up to the same place as her? Because he wants to go back into jail? Of course not. Additionally, it appears as if someone who was involved in the data extraction intentionally deleted messages from Miss Peter to Lindsay Gaetani on December 14th. Lindsay met with Tully for an interview immediately after she texted Miss Peter to talk about it. It was at that point, the moment they began discussing the meeting with Tully, that all communications unrevealed themselves, right? I'm just going to skip through some of this. I know a lot of you guys have already read through this, so for brevity purposes, but this is the text exchange. So, hey, they just left. Depends on your definition of good. Sorry, I know the anticipation is killing you. Yeah, no bueno on that front. I know Mello told me yesterday not to worry about anything, but I was told something entirely different today. I'll explain when I call. Miss Gaetani calls Miss Peter. They speak on the phone for 2 hours and 32 minutes. And what the heck do you have to talk about for 2 hours and 30 minutes? December 15th, Lindsay asked Miss Peter when Jen McCabe thought of her meeting with Tully, which suggested that Tully reports information about witness interviews to Jen McCabe as if she is his boss. It doesn't show Miss Peter's response, likely because her response is damaging to Tully, who is going to also be a witness in this case. The fake victim, Lindsay Gaetani. It's really hard, guys. If I slip up, I slip up. It is what it is. Asked Miss Peter if Tully would be mad at her for telling people that, and wanted to know if Tully would buy a story she was trying to sell him. What did Jen McCabe and everyone think of my meeting yesterday? Oh my god, really? Comment about anything specific or just in general about Karen's case? Because it's all about Karen all the time, guys. Ugh. Shit. LOL. Is Tully gonna get mad at me that I told people? Like, why can't you just go the extra mile to spell Gunnar the correct way? Like, I don't... It's harder to misspell it than spell it correctly at that point. Yeah, good point. Oh, okay. Would he even buy that? What did Tully say is next steps? Did he talk to Marshmallow? Gaetani posts on Facebook, big news coming soon. Stay tuned. As inconceivable as it seems, according to the extraction report of Miss Gaetani's phone, Miss Peter did not respond to any of Miss Gaetani's messages cited above, even though some clearly are responsive to Miss Peter. It is particularly concerning that the message is missing from an extraction report, because you can't decide, Mello, what's exculpatory and what isn't. You just hand it all over and the defense gets to decide what evidence supports their case the best. Ooh, I'm spicy. By the MSP are messages from their own source containing information from and about Miss Gaetani, Marshmallow, Tully, and Miss McCabe. It's not a coincidence. No, it's not. We're the only messages that disappeared from the extraction. Exactly. He didn't redact emails she sent to her children's kindergartner teacher, but he did redact messages in which he was the topic of conversation, because that's what they do, guys, in the MSP, baby. Tully was inclined to say that nothing was deleted from the phone. He can no longer do so because last week Miss Peter posted screenshots of her text with Lindsay from December 18th to the 22nd, and although Lindsay's messages all appear in the data extraction, Miss Peter's doesn't. Finally, it should be noted that Miss Peter has displayed some of her messages with Miss Gaetani that do not appear on the extraction report from Miss Gaetani's phone of her own live shows. On October 3rd, and on that day I asked him, what day is it? Oh, he asked me, what day was it? It was October 3rd. If you know that reference, you know you know. Miss Peter posted some of the missing messages on her Twitter X account. In other words, Miss Peter has access to the text messages we are missing. Accordingly, because Miss Peter, a source closely associated with the MSP and Commonwealth, possesses the requested evidence which is relevant favorable to the defense and within your possession, custody, and control. Such evidence in any form should be promptly disclosed to the defense. Given the December 17th, 2024 trial date, which we will be covering here on Alexasrewm, on the district court matter, we would appreciate a prompt response so we may pursue other remedies before trial in the event you cannot or will not disclose evidence pursuant to this demand. Mic drop, respectfully, Law Daddy Mark A. Betterow. And these are the, I'm just going to zoom out for my own eyeballs a little bit. But this was what they are referencing. Oh, wait, did I? I think I zoomed out so much. No, here we go. Here we go. Sorry, guys. So this is what she posted just last week because she's a dum-dum. In the warped reality Turtleboy has crafted and curated for his gullible audience, he is a completely innocent man who is haplessly lured into a trap to frame him for crimes. In reality, his ex-girlfriend was fielding non-stop calls, texts, and threats for him for weeks, intensifying when she received a grand jury summons. From December 18th to the 22nd of 2023, as reflected in her text, she was not interested in seeing him in person at all, or even really talking to him. But he pushed and threatened and badgered until he got his way. There is no setup. This is her doing damage control, right? Like trying to save face at this point. It's so sad. It's so sad. He's projecting his own tendency to set others up, lie to the police and courts, and fabricate evidence for court onto others, as narcissists often do. Takes one to know one. There's a reason this guy's own mother called him a narcissist. And again, why do you have to bring up people's family? Like, that's not how you win, like, support. Okay, when you drag people's families into the conversation, especially when you know his mother has passed away. Like, how disgusting. Look at this public behavior towards anyone who dares to disagree with him or fail to capitulate. I don't even, what? To his demands. He gleefully destroys them. He highlights his abusive behavior 24/7, then insists he's not an abuser. Talk about pissing on the legs of his cult members and telling them it's, I guess, rain is what she was trying to say. So these are the text messages. No, I'm absolutely 100% not seeing him. Wouldn't put it past him to try and throw me down the stairs. Plus, I'm not blank. I don't always make the smartest choices, but when I'm done, I'm done. I have at least that much self-respect. Do you, girl? I can see that you do. I just know it can be effing hard. LOL. I'm guilty as charged myself with S. Like that. I'm just a bit amped up today, I guess, but something about him in this situation gives me a bad feeling. There's literally nothing to be gained out of seeing him. He can enjoy his life with that. I guess she's throwing shade at his girlfriend, so I guess you're not salty about it? How effing dare he is all I can keep thinking. F with your emotions, your head, then threaten you, then expect to bang you again, then send you screenshots to threaten you again, then ask to meet up. Please, 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 whatever you do, don't meet up. Or if you can't, stop yourself, don't go alone. Men like him get to sprint, and I don't want anything to happen to you. I'm not trying to be dramatic, so I'm assuming this is obviously Catherine. But that's how a lot of Dateline episodes start. Oh my goodness. Or in your case, I guess you set your own car, allegedly, on fire. No, I'm absolutely 100% not seeing him. Wouldn't put it past him to try and throw me down the stairs. Okay, so then there's that. She did the same thing on one of her boy bad videos. This text message never appeared in the data extraction. Oh, sorry. I thought this was a video. It's not. I can't answer. Ignore him is what I would do. Yep, I just let it go to VM. He's insane. Dude, you literally were just with your... just shaming women for having adult, intimate interactions with other people, but alright. Last night, what in God's name are you calling me for? So I guess that's Tully. The fact that the state police and Commonwealth are so low that they would align themselves with a deadbeat mother, his words not mine, in order to frame me for a crime I didn't commit and put me in jail shows you how corrupt and shameless they are. Here's a collection of the same things Miss Peter has posted on social media for the world to see, which the state police and DA's office can see, including celebrating, the death of my mother, sexualizing children, and threatening to come to my daughter's cheerleading practices, which is just sick. Again, it's like, why do you have to bring kids into it? It's so sick. And family, especially families that pass. And I remember reading this. This is sick. But again, it's important to read out, guys, because this is who Court TV has platformed, right? This is who the O'Keefes has said, okay, yeah, it's cool for you to be our mouthpiece. The world is a better place without Turtleboy's mother. Like, who the heck says that? I don't care how much hate you have for somebody. How much hate? My worst enemy, even my own ABUSERs, right? Who literally caused me nothing but pain? I would never wish anything harmful on their family members. Even on themselves. Because that's not what good, decent human beings do. You don't say stuff like this. And if you're going to even say, why are you posting it on social media, you weirdo? Thank God she is dead. I'm hearing that after using her to try to get out of jail, it failed because no one cares what that useless, decrepit piece of SHIT had to say about her useless son. So now you're like throwing shade at a dead woman. Like, there's a special place in hell for you. And I don't even want to continue reading it because she is a disgusting human being. Aiden Carney is a artist who gets off on terrorizing innocent people, especially kids. If that's not defamation, I don't know what is. Prohibit Aiden Carney from accessing future hearings in the Karen Reed case. Sign the petition. Wow. This is the face of someone who knows about failure, failed marriage, failed teacher, failed attempt at parenting, failed blogger. Nothing you have to say matters to me. Mom says you're a narcissist. You mean she's talking about you, right? Poor Mary, and she's been so sick. Your antics are going to literally unalive her when she finds everything out. You're so sick. Total coward. Answer your phone. Let's talk live. I don't care what cases you erroneously claim you're a witness in. My animus towards you is clearly centered on the fact that you're a woman, ABUSER. And for that, like, again, as somebody who has been assaulted, that is incredibly offensive. Not only to just me, but other victims, actual victims and survivors. To say something like that and to claim like you're the spokesperson for all of this. We don't claim you. We don't. And don't weaponize us and utilize us to help build your own platform. LOL, let's do this. And then you can crow on about how the witness intimidation statute is unconstitutional. As your defense, you tried 2 police departments to charge me with witness intimidation from 2 years ago in cases you are not a witness in for conduct that is a fraction of yours towards actual witnesses in a unaliving case. Do you think this will work out for you? Stop hiding, coward. BITCH, come see me right now. I mean, again, this is like you're instigating. You're trying to get a reaction. And again, you guys can go through the whole thing. It's just more tweets like this, unhinged. More audio. I don't really want to platform her too much, but it's pretty insane when you get into... And I encourage you to listen through. I encourage you. It's all here. It's all here. But again, I drive home the point of this is who mainstream media gives a voice to. And it's despicable. And it needs to stop. It does. That needs to stop. And they need to start taking the Better letters more seriously. Ted Daniel was the only one to report on that, as far as I know, in the Boston Herald. About the grand jury indictment, like, failed attempt at that. But I mean, what about this? What about this? There's direct overlap between Turtleboy's case and Karen Reed's case. There is no this case, that case, they are now one. And whatever happens in December, I don't see how Karen Reed has this rape trial, because pretty much all of the witnesses, the main witnesses, minus a couple of people, right, are going to be cross-examined and probably called as witnesses in Turtleboy's case, which is 1 month prior. How does that make sense? Make it make sense. But with that being said, I know this was a long one, but I hope you enjoyed this presentation of this. I know a lot of you have already read through the document, so I didn't want to just do another readout. And I wanted to get the perspective from Turtleboy, because obviously he knows his own case better than anybody else can explain, and he'll be able to give better context into, again, this crazy cast of characters that feel like, again, this is season 2 of the Karen Reed series, right? Featuring Turtleboy, and now the new villain of season 2 is Catherine Peters. So with that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next Karen Reed update from me or Turtleboy update from me. Make sure you hit that like button, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that this is in fact newsworthy news, and it is. It is newsworthy news. Mainstream media won't touch the better letters for some reason, even though it feels pretty big and pretty bombshell. I think it's only a matter of time, and I think a lot of people are trying to stay clear of the controversy because of a lot of the pushback that a lot of these big mainstream, I mean, we saw the Canton Confidential segment with Sue O'Connell. We saw that, and what a clown show that ended up being. So they're just afraid of reporting the truth, and that's why people like you get to express your thoughts and opinions and create your own platforms, you know, just like I have here. And I encourage you, if you have a voice and you want to continue the discussion, create your own channel, talk about it. This is the future of news. This is going to one day be mainstream media, and we cannot do it without you, right? We cannot continue this movement without you, because you deserve the truth. You do. It's out there, but the powers that be don't seem to want to share it with you. So it's up to independent creators, independent journalists, or bloggers to do it, to do the heavy lifting. So thanks so much for being on this journey, and I will see you in the next one.